What up, YouTube? Welcome back. We got another Bible study. We're gonna go through the book of Matthew. I'm gonna try to go through a chapter one day at a time, and see how far we can go. If not, maybe a whole chapter, maybe half a chapter. But we're gonna start off in the book of Matthew. This is chapter one. This is the genealogy of the Messiah, and I'm just gonna highlight some people in his genealogy, and hopefully we can get some understanding and some wisdom, some encouragement for some of us who may come from questionable backgrounds or families that don't have the most honorable people. And we can be encouraged by the genealogy of the Messiah, how the Most High still uses people who may have had questionable past to still bring about a good in you. So this is chapter one, verse one. So this is the book of the generation of Jesus Christ, or Yahushua Mashiach, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So Abraham begat Isaac, Isaac begat Jacob, Jacob begat Judas or Judah and his brethren. Judas is just the Latinized version of Judah. Judas or Judah begat Pharez and Zerah of Tamar, and Pharez begat Esrom. Esrom begat Aram. Aram begat Aminadab. Aminadab begat Nasan. Nasan begat Salmon. And Salmon begat Boaz of Rechab or Rahab. And Boaz begat Obed of Ruth. And Obed begat Jesse. And Jesse begat David of the king. And David the king begat Solomon of her that who had been the wife of Uriah. So you stop right there. I just want to highlight this part right here when in verse 5 where it says Salmon begat Boaz of Rechab. Let's check out who is Rechab. Rechab is also, it's the Latinized version of Rahab, and Rahab means wide. And there's some debate out there, but based off the commentary of this the Blue Letter Bible, which is pretty accurate for the most part. It is the harlot of Jericho. That's Rahab the harlot. That we remember she was the prostitute in Jericho of the Canaanites, who helped Joshua in the book of Joshua. She helped the Israelites overcome Jericho, and it was her faith and her willing to sacrifice that prevented her from being killed with the Canaanites when they came and overcame the city. And this was the mother of Boaz, who eventually became, the grandfather of King David. Yeah. So, hey, and then also King David, his son was Solomon, who was the mother, who was the son of the wife of Uriah, which was Bathsheba. And remember, King David, he committed adultery with Bathsheba and murdered the husband of Bathsheba, Uriah. Yeah. So in the First Samuel. So remember, these were pretty questionable people, but they're in the genealogy of the Messiah. And some of these things that the Messiah came, that he was sinless, he was perfect, who lived on this earth, he never sinned. But he had people in his background, his genealogy, who did. And we have all people in our, immediate family or extended family, whether it be our fathers or our mothers or our sisters or brothers or grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts, uncles, who had questionable reputations. But this is an encouragement that even though we may have come from backgrounds that weren't the most upright, that the Most High used these things or these people to bring about something good. You know, I always think about the story of Joseph when he was sold into slavery by his brothers, and they came back and they came to Egypt, and they didn't even recognize him, but he was the second in command of Egypt, and he ended up saving so many people, and it wouldn't have happened if he would have stayed in Canaan. He had to go through that affliction. He had to go through that turmoil in order to be used to bring about a large salvation for a lot of people during that famine, during that drought. And the same way, Joseph was a precursor to how the Messiah was going to save a multitude of people. That as you know, the nation of Israel was scattered abroad to the four corners. So, but he had to go through this questionable genealogy uh, of people who didn't have the best reputation, but at the time they did show faith at the time of when they were part of their redemption. So let's keep going a little bit more. All right. So Jesse begat David the king, and David the king begat Solomon of her that had been the wife of Uriah. Verse 7, Solomon begat Rehoboam, Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abiah, and Abiah begat Asha, and Asha begat Jehoshaphat, and Jehoshaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Uzziah, and Uzziah begat Jotham, and Jotham begat Ashaz, and Ashaz begat Ezekiel, and Ezekias begat Manasseh, and Manasseh begat Ammon, and Ammon begat Josiah, and Josiah begat Jeconiah and his brethren about the time they were carried away to Babylon. And we know that, I think it's like in Second Kings, I think it's like Second Kings around like 18 or 19 chapter. They were 17 or 18, around those chapters. They were carried off to Babylon. So there's a lot of sin going on too during this genealogy, this part of the genealogy, when they were carried off to Babylon. And then verse 12, and as they were brought to Babylon, Jeconiah begat Salathiel, and Salathiel begat Zerubbabel. And Zerubbabel, he was actually one of the men that came back with Nehemiah and Ezra, as he was, the son of David. So he was, ordained to be the king. But Zerubbabel, I think his name literally means born in Babylon. Yeah. His name literally means born in Babylon. He was one of the head of the tribe of Judah who came back from the Babylonian captivity when King Cyrus brought him back. But just their names, they even tell a story about where they come from. But let's continue. Verse 13, Zerubbabel begat Abiud, and Abiud begat Alakim, and Alakim begat Azar, and Azar begat Sadok, and Sadok begat Asham, and Asham begat Eliod. And Eliod begat Eliezer, and Eliezer begat Mathan, and Mathan begat Jacob. And Jacob begat Joseph, the husband of Mary, on whom was born Jesus, or Yahusha, who is called Christ. So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations. From David unto carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations. And from the carrying away into Babylon unto Christ are 14 generations. 14, 14, 14. All right. So just want to encourage people, like I said, a lot of us didn't come from the most great reputation or the best households, but let's say the Messiah, he didn't come from the best genealogy either. But these people, that's why we honor our father and mother. We honor the people that came before us, because we don't know the things that they had to go through, and we don't know how much the Most High had mercy on these people in order to bring us into existence. So it's important that we give honor to the elderly, to our fathers, our mothers, our grandparents, even if they're not necessarily the most faithful people, because without them we wouldn't even be here. So they at the very least deserve that much honor. So and just always be encouraged that the people that that we look up to, the Messiah, he didn't come from the most honorable bloodline, but it was a chosen bloodline that the Most High chose. And for those listening out there, um, Most High willing that He chose you for a purpose, and that you will walk into that purpose. All right, so we're gonna go continue on with Matthew next time, but peace.